5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, welcome to your Media Mosh podcast. I am your host, Shane Beauregard, coming at you with all your news, reviews, and previews. I want to watch on your streaming services, your television, and if you still have one, your local theater. And much to my dismay, I thought the theaters here would be opening up April the 2nd, because that's when our ban kind of got lifted a little bit more. But much to my dismay, we are still no theater. We were theaterless, so... But anyway, I hope everyone had a great Easter. It was a long week for me, so I didn't get in a whole lot. I had the kids home all week. We did some really bad planning, so they were literally home all week with me, and my VP was working out of her office, so yeah, it was a long week. So other than that, I've been trying to work on my son's wrestling career. It is funny. He is all into WWE, watching old school stuff. And when I say old school stuff, let me back up a second. I'm not talking Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. I'm talking Stone Cold and The Rock and John Cena and all that stuff, and even the new age guys, which I can't help them with because I haven't watched good old wrestling since that Attitude Era with Stone Cold. So, but it's kind of exciting to see him get into that kind of stuff because he's at that age. We're all at that age. If we grew up wrestling fans, he kind of thinks part of it's real. I think it's kind of cool. So I'm going to whip Skull Crusher into shape and see what we can do with him. Other than that, it was a great Easter. Again, I hope everyone else had a great Easter out there. I don't have a lot of news. That was my long way of telling you. I haven't been paying attention to a lot because it's been work, kids. So anyway, I do know Netflix is shelling out a ton of money for Rian Johnson and his 2 sequels to Knives Out, which will both star Daniel Craig. $450 million. Good Lord. Good for you, Netflix. And I do like Knives Out. But we'll see. Let's not put they put the cart before the horse, so we'll see. We'll see what actually happens. The new Loki trailer dropped. Super excited about that. I like the banter between him and Owen Wilson from what we've seen so far. They released 2 Suicide Squad trailers, and I'm a James Gunn fan. I'm not an unabashed James Gunn fan, but I enjoy most of what he does. And yeah, so I have no problem with this movie. The only thing is, what's thrown me off, and I'm probably the only one, is I know, at least I think I know this takes place after the first Suicide Squad, unless they're not even they're probably not even connecting the 2 movies. So maybe we should think of these movies, and that thought just hit me. I guess these are 2 separate Suicide Squad movies that have nothing to do with each other. Correct me if I'm wrong, that thought just entered my head because stylistically, this movie looks like it's in the 80s based on wardrobe and color palette and color schemes. It's probably present day because they have to go to Central America or something like that, but the choice of outfit and colors and the brightness of it reminds me something about the 80s, early 90s. And again, it probably has no connection to the first one. I'm all for it. That comes out August the 9th. So, the only thing coming out on Netflix next week is the new Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer movie, Thunder Force, comes out April 9th. That'll be the family movie for the night, so I'll have that as a review for you next week. Now, for me, the bar is set really low on that movie. I have no expectations. None. But we'll see. I did order HBO Max finally, like I said I would. I ordered it this past week to watch Godzilla vs. Kong. And it's well worth the money. I will say, before I get into anything else, the user-friendliness of HBO Max, I haven't figured it out yet because they have like the new add-ons and new releases, but the way they have their movies organized kind of all over the place. I don't like it. So, but we're actually enjoying that. My kids are getting into Looney Tunes, which is refreshing. We may check out the Tom and Jerry movie, but I'm just bantering around. So, let's get into, what do I want to get to first? I haven't done this in a while, so let's go top 5 box office for the weekend. There was a box office. Coming in at number 5, you have Tom and Jerry bringing in $1.4 million. Number 2, the Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon and bringing in even 2. Number 3, Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, bringing in $3 million. Number 2, The Unholy, bringing in $3.2 million. And number 1, of course, is Godzilla vs. King Kong, bringing in $11.6 million, and it is the highest grossing pandemic movie. Now we got to put that asterisk next to it. Grossing 48.5 since its opening on Wednesday. So not so bad for, I guess, very limited theater release. So I actually think that brings hope for movie theaters, and once we get out of this shit that we're still in. So now, let's get into the top 10 Netflix shows and movies today. And this is probably the weakest top 10 I can remember ever seeing. Number 10, Sniper, the Ghost Shooter. Number 9, White Boy. Not the movie with Matthew McConaughey, but the documentary. Number 8, the Netflix show The Irregulars. Number 7, Bad Trip. Number 6, The Serpent. Number 5, the animated film Hop. Number 4, the Friends with Benefits with the overrated Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. Number 3, What Lies Below. Now, do not get that confused with What Lies Beneath. That was Michelle Pfeiffer, Harrison Ford. This is nothing close to that movie. Number 2, the Netflix original movie Concrete Cowboy, which is on my list to watch. I'll watch anything with Idris Elba in it, so that's on my list. And number 1, the Netflix original movie Who Killed Sarah. That's it. All right, so let's get into what I actually watched this week. So, got caught up on The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Totally digging that show. Again, this is spoiler free. These are just my thoughts. There are some shows I like to binge, obviously, and I'd be lying to you to say if they actually released this in the entire season, I would have been done with it on the first day. I'm actually glad they went old school with this because it gives me something to look forward to every Friday morning with my coffee, and I can talk about it during the week. I actually kind of miss that. I do. I kind of miss it. So here we are, episode 3. We get introduced to Zemo, and you get the iconic purple mask that he wears as he's helping the Falcon and Winter Soldier trying to track down these super soldiers and who's creating the serum. We get introduced not by person, but to some mysterious power broker who is funding the doctor creating these super serums. So you get more of the what the Flag Smashers are up to. The highlight of the episode, obviously, is you have Sharon Carter in this episode and what happened to her since Endgame. Like, she's been in exile, so she cannot go back to the States. She ends up swinging a deal with Sam. If she helps him, he promises that he's going to get her pardon so she can come back home. That was very nice. I'm telling you, I do like Zemo. Daniel Bruhl, I think that's his name, but I really like him in this show. I like the chemistry between all three of them, Sam, Bucky, and Zemo. Very good chemistry together. I like it. We get some Wakanda flavor in this episode. I'm telling you, I'm really digging this. This is more my show than WandaVision was. And I ended up really liking WandaVision, but this is more my meat and potatoes. Lots of good action scenes, lots of good grounded character arcs, a little deeper than you think. So we have 3 episodes left. I can't wait. One of the better shows I've seen this year. For me, depending on how it shakes out, because I think there's going to be some surprises in here as the show goes on. But I'm all about the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I guess right after that, we'll have a short lapse between Loki, because Loki's June 11th. And what are we, in April? Yeah, so we'll probably have like 3 or 4 weeks before we get any of that Loki. So there will be a little lull. Unless there's something coming out to Disney Plus that I don't... No, I'm not watching The Mighty Ducks. No. I saw that trailer. My kids won't even watch that. So, yeah, so thumbs up for me. Still a really good watch. Now, let's get into the meat of this show. Let's talk Justice League. I know you probably don't really want to, because I really don't want to either. So, I ordered HBO Max Wednesday. I held out to watch Godzilla on Friday. And, by the way, this one's sitting at 71% critic score with a 95% audience score. That's not a shocker. All the Snyderverse fans are just losing their fucking minds, and they want to push for an extended Snyder universe and just get over it. Get over it. Get over it. Get a life. He's done. And I like Zack Snyder. I don't love him, but I like him. I'll defend him. Unwillingly sometimes, but I will defend Zack Snyder. It's over. His run is over. He told his tale. He had 3 movies to do it. He did it or was it 3 movies? Yeah, 3 movies. And it's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. So let's get into this. To summarize my thoughts. Was it better than the theatrical cut? Yes. Was it substantially better than the theatrical cut? I thought so. That being said, 4 hours, 4 fucking hours. So I split it up into 2 nights. I did 2 hours Wednesday night, 2 hours Thursday night. There was a lot of exposition that did not need to be in this film. Let's start off at the beginning of the film. So it starts you off at the end of Batman vs. Superman as Superman's dying. Now, apparently his screams are so fucking powerful, they travel the goddamn globe, and that's what kicked the mother boxes back alive. It was his cries of pain. Yeah, okay. That's something I really criticize Snyder with. Like, I understand Superman's the end-all, be-all, but he overpowers him. He makes him too powerful, if that makes sense. Fucking ridiculous. Okay, so as soon as I got over his breath, or his cries opening all the mother boxes, we get Steppenwolf. Still no improvement. He looks like a sack of shit. Now, I'm just going off by thoughts here. We do get Darkseid in this movie. Now, he does look better than I originally thought he was, but he's still CGI clunky. He still looks clunky. He looks better than Steppenwolf, I will say that. Here's what I liked. You had Wonder Woman stand more at attention in this film than you did the original theatrical cut. There wasn't any of the start you up the skirt shots going from ass to head. Thank you, Joss Whedon. No, I do appreciate that. I like the cyborg angle. Now, I don't know Ray Fisher, what Ray Fisher's problem is. I haven't been following the beef between him and the WB. But I did like the cyborg storyline. The only levity you get in this film is through Barry Allen's Flash. I did like that. You get some extended scenes with him in it as well. I liked it. It's the only humor you really have in this film. They cut all that out. They did change some of the cheesy dialogue. But I'll be honest with you folks, I ended up fast-forwarding a lot of this movie. Like, a lot. Every time Lois Lane was on screen, fast-forward. Because the first time we see her, it's a slow-mo shot for getting coffee. Too many slow-mo shots in this thing. Jesus. So yes, I fast-forwarded every single Lois Lane part. I fast-forwarded most of the Aquaman stuff. So, I'll be honest with you, I probably fast-forwarded like an hour and a half of this movie just so I can get to the action parts and what they put back in there. They did change, again, when they resurrect Superman, that scene at the plaza where he has the showdown, that end of that fight is totally different. It works better in this film than it did the original one. The total last act of this movie is totally different, and it works better. It is a more fluid film, okay? It is better connected than what we got. It's not as disjointed and funky. It does have a better flow, albeit a long, sometimes boring flow. It has a better flow. I really enjoyed the last act, okay? And it is more violent than the theatrical cut, okay? Which I appreciated. So, it worked for me. The end especially worked for me. But again, they made Superman a little too powerful. Like, they just did. I'm like, okay. And the other problem I had is the whole Darkseid, was that the anti-life equation? Now, there is a scene towards the beginning of this movie where he first comes down to Earth, smashes his axe or his sword or whatever the hell he's swinging at the time, and you saw the equation spread out across the Earth. He gets taken out, and they kind of like bring him back on the ship and escape from Earth. How the fuck do you forget that the anti-equation is on Earth? Like when Steppenwolf comes to you at the end and is like, I found it, like you forgot you actually discovered it on Earth. I don't know. I kind of laughed at that part. It's something I'll never see again, but to Zack Snyder's credit, it was better than what the studio and Joss Whedon put together. So yeah, I'm going to give it, in the end, I'll never see it again. Like, the hand to God, I'll never see it again. But I do appreciate some of the stuff he added to the film, and it wasn't the worst thing I've seen. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. I can't go any higher than that because it was 4 hours. It could have still been 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45 minutes. But 2.5, and let Zack Snyder go. Just let him go. Let him. I'm ready for Army of the Dead. I'm ready for his next projects because the man can shoot, albeit he always does in a dark, moody kind of way. He does know how to shoot some action scenes. So let's see what else he has outside of Army of the Dead coming up. So all you Snyderverse fans, get a life. Now, let's get to the most anticipated movie so far in this early year for me, and that is Godzilla vs. King Kong. Right now, it's sitting at 76% critic score with a 93% audience score. Directed by Adam Wingard. Now, let's talk about him for a minute. I like him. He doesn't have a lot behind him yet. He has more of a horror background. His first film was the 2011's You're Next. Very enjoyable film for me. Then he hit his pinnacle with The Guest with Dan Stevens. Fantastic fucking movie. If you haven't seen The Guest, get off your ass and watch it this weekend. It's on Netflix. Great movie. Then he did Blair Witch. Let's not talk about it. And then before Godzilla, he did the Netflix original Death Note. Again, so this is quite the jump from Death Note to, or his previous works, into Godzilla versus King Kong. And man, I'm telling you, say what you want. I know there's detractors and haters for all these Monster Universe films and all this bullshit. It was good. It was entertaining. It wasn't as long as I thought. It was right under 2 hours. So you have Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Eliza Gonzalez. She's hot tamale. Kyle Chandler, Julian Dennison. He was the bigger kid in Deadpool 2. Brian Tyree, and I'm going to butcher his name, but Damian Belcher. You have Godzilla wreaking havoc on these Apex facilities, and we don't know why. Millie Bobby Brown teams up with Julian Dennison and Brian Tyree, who plays like this conspiracy theorist podcaster. They go on a journey and go undercover in Apex to find out why Godzilla's acting this way. Then you get King Kong, who is like handled by Rebecca Hall. They bring in Alexander Skarsgård because he's like a disgraced scientist, and they need him to go into Hollow Earth. And you have Kong trying to go to Hollow Earth, and you have the whole thing with Godzilla. That is your basic setup. Now, there are some crazy human elements that made no sense. The science doesn't make sense here. But I've always said it. You don't watch these movies for the human story. Now, I will say the human little element is a little better in this one than King of Monsters, because that shit was ridiculous. There was some humor, and that was mainly with the Millie Bobby Brown group as they were making their little discoveries. So you get, again, you get Kong eating. This is a spoiler-free review. I'm not going to try to get into spoilers, but I will give Adam Wingard credit in this aspect. He did say there was going to be a definitive winner, and there definitely was. There definitely was a winner. So you get a nice Kong Godzilla battle. You've seen it in the trailers on the battleship. They're trying to get Kong to his new habitat, which we do see the Hollow Earth, and like that explains a little bit more, and that's where he picks up that funky axe. So then you have Godzilla making his way to Hong Kong. You have and that's kind of the final act. And we do discover, and this was in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling this for you, but Apex was working on Mechagodzilla using the skull. Now, this is another thing you have to take a leap of not scientific-based work. They use the skull from King Ghidorah from the last movie, and somehow it's kind of Pacific Rim where you had another pilot in the skull connected to it, controlling Mechagodzilla. Yeah, it made no sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now I'm all talking about that. What happened to the other skull, or the other head from Ghidorah that Jonas picked up at the very end, last scene in King of Monsters? Like, what happened? Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so there's some crazy scientific shit that makes no sense going on here. But you do have your epic last act battle. Fantastic. I will say, 3 members of my household were rooting for King Kong, and I am a Godzilla fan by nature. Well worth it. Very entertaining. I think everyone will be satisfied. Doesn't let me down. Now, I will say, as far as the cast, everyone does a good job, but, they could have picked really anybody. No offense to this great list of actors and actresses. They weren't needed, because, again, it could have been me and my buddies in this film, and it would have been, it wouldn't have worked. We would have done a shit job. But you know what I mean. Like, they didn't need all these A-listers. Kyle Chandler probably did the least, and he's a really good actor, but he was in it for a couple scenes. I like Alexander Skarsgård. Eliza Gonzalez, who I've been talking about a lot lately, is a hot tamale. I really like her. She was underutilized. Again, Brian Tyree brought the sense of humor and the levity of the film when there was. So overall, good cast, great action. And for those of you worried about a Thundercats movie, based off of Wingard's work with this, you should have total faith. I told you that's a big jump from low-budget horror film to highly produced action, rock'em sock'em monster fight. So, hats off. Well worth the wait. I'm probably going to watch it multiple times since I have HBO Max. So I'm giving Godzilla vs. King Kong, and you can all screw yourselves. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 because it's my jam, it's my show, and I really like Godzilla. So that's it, folks. That's all I got for you. So happy I could get this out to you. Again, next week I'll have Thunder Force and whatever else I can find on HBO Max. I know it seems like I've been talking really fast during this episode, and I don't know why. Too much coffee, probably. But anyway, go check me out on the Apple Podcast Store. Download me, share me, let me know your friend's life. Hey, 20 minutes it looks like it's every other week now. But they will thank you. Go to my Facebook page at Shane Media Mosh, or go to my Media Mosh Facebook page. Then go to my Twitterverse at Shane Media Mosh. And then circle the wagons. Go check out Mr. Argue Myself, Chris Riddell, on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebooks. 3 different platforms for 3 different types of content. Until then, get caught up. Get caught up in the mosh.